What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we've been eagerly awaiting the game. It's finally arrived. Marvel United by Spinmasters and CMON Games, designed by Eric M. Lang and Andrea Chiarvesio. Hopefully I said that right. If you do happen to see the video, let me know down below in the comments. Now Julie's going to take it away and tell you more about the game itself.
I think the designer's related to Ant-Man. Sorry, completely off topic.
How would they be related to
Ant-Man? Lang.
Oh, yes. I was thinking the one that I actually, had issues pronouncing.
So sorry, complete tangent. So this is a cooperative game that plays 1 to 4 players. It's intended for ages 14 and above. Probably because of small pieces, legalities or something, because I don't think this is 14 and above game.
No, I've interacted with some people online. I think you can probably go almost as low as like 5. You can probably go 9 years younger than this.
I was going to say
you might need to help. Well, at 5, they're going to need a lot of help, but they definitely would understand the basics of the game. This is very much a family-friendly game.
Okay, now you're getting ahead of us.
Yes, but I'm going to say a family-friendly game in which you are, as I usually do, explain the game a little bit, in which you must defeat the villains by taking on, by taking on the role of your favorite Marvel hero. There are 6 locations that make up the board. The villain will have a board in the center that will contain his victory and your defeat conditions. Now, you will lose the game if you happen to exhaust your deck or the master plan deck, or if the villain completes his dastardly schemes. Now, you're going to be moving around the 6 different locations. You have 3 missions to complete. You must complete 2 of them in order to deal damage to the villain. You do that by clearing threats, rescuing civilians, and defeating thugs. Once you're able to damage the villain, well, just hit him for his health, and you will then save the day like a true Marvel champion. Wait, wrong game. Sorry.
Like United Marvel superheroes.
All right, so I was just thinking Ultimate Alliance. Like, there's so many great Marvel games.
Jumped in before I was able to say there's no actual time on this box, but it's about 60 minutes to play the game.
Yeah, definitely falls into that 60-minute mark. Could be a little bit longer with 4 players and some younger players. Other than that, though, it definitely is a fast setup, fast play. So what time is it now?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
We're going to take it to the table one more time.
Yeah, get one more time in. Defeat Red Skull. And just for our viewers, so you know, I did already film the how to play video. I do get a little ahead of myself once or twice. Don't worry, I catch it. The game just plays so fast. It's easy, especially if you're playing solo, to be like, oh, I can do this, this, and this. So just keep that in mind. Now we're going to take a look at the components for Marvel United. We'll start, like we usually do, with the rule book. What I do like is on the back, we've got a nice rule summary. So there are no summary cards. You'll need to use the back of the book. Nice overview, components, explanation. I do like the visuals. And all the rules are fairly straightforward. There, however, has been an FAQ released by CMON Games. So if you do have any questions, make sure to check it out. Now we'll start with the locations. So we've got Shield headquarters, and once you move the threats, and we'll talk about those when we get to the villain deck, you may then use these end of turn effects. So you may discard 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck to remove 1 crisis token from anywhere. Central Park, you may move up to 2 civilians or thugs in any combination from this location. The Shield Helicarrier lets you move to any other location. Avengers Mansion lets you draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. New York Police Headquarters, you may discard 1 thug from any location. Stark Labs, you may swap 1 card from your hand with one of your cards in the storyline. Avengers Tower, end of your turn, you may search your deck for 1 card and set it aside, then shuffle your deck and place that one back on the top. And finally, Times Square, where you may rescue 1 civilian from this location. So you will be using 6 of these in a game. 2 of them will be returned to the box. Now we do have the action tokens here: heroic action, punch, or attack, wild, and movement. We then have the tokens that are going to be related to civilians, thugs, and these are the threat ones. They correspond to the mission over here. And of course, we've got the villain dashboard, which is slightly cut off, but it's not that big of a deal. It just works. Actually, you know what? We can slide everything down just a teensy bit, I think, and be able to slide it down. So you can see the arrow there. We got the full villain dashboard on there. So just as you complete the mission, so either rescue civilians, defeat thugs, clear threats, you just have to fill up the card with these corresponding tokens. The villains' actions will change based on the track. Now the game includes 3 villains, Red Skull, Ultron, and Taskmaster. They each have different abilities. We'll go back to Red Skull first. So as BAM, deal 1 damage to each hero in his location and increase the fear track by 2. Got to make sure that his fear track doesn't get up there. We get instructions for overflow. So as you can see on these locations, if there's an overflow effect, follow what's on the card. Then you've got his health depending on the number of players. With regards to Ultron, his BAM effect is to add 3 thugs to his location and deal 1 damage to each hero. Then we've got his overflow effect, and his villainous plot is to fill all the locations with civilians or thugs. Lastly, we've got Taskmaster, who will deal 1 damage to each hero in his location and add 1 crisis token. So his special rules is heroes cannot damage Taskmaster as long as there are any crisis tokens on any locations, and heroes can discard a crisis token with these special rules. He's got his overflow effect, and really what's happening with Taskmaster is he's trying to wear you down more so than anything else. As you can see, there is no actual loss. He wants you to run through your deck. Now, each villain has their cards as well as their threat cards. So threats can be anything from henchmen to these different different schemes. So henchmen will have a BAM effect. These will have effects that will occur when you're there, or, for example, with the symbol, if the villain arrives. Then we'll just take a look at one of his cards and how we resolve it. So it tells you how he moves around the setup, the BAM, and then what you need to do. And that is the same for essentially all the villains. Down here we have the challenge cards to make the game more difficult. I'll just move those off to the side. So in case Ultron, his threat cards, similar stuff, he's got some henchmen as well. You might just move 2 and BAM, move 5. Spawn guys. So that's really what you're going to be doing. Don't worry, it'll make a lot more sense when we get into the how to play. So for Taskmaster as well, we'll look at the back first. His cards, threat cards. I'll tell you what happened. So each thug in this location requires 2 damage. He only has different quests, well, not quests, schemes. Then he's got his movement that he's going to be doing around the board with that BAM effect. So those are the villains. Let's take a look at their miniatures now. Here we've got the mini for Red Skull. Here is Ultron. And then Taskmaster. Next, we of course have the heroes. And we've got Wasp, Black Widow. Not even showing her very well. They go Black Widow. Iron Man rocketing off the ground, getting ready to punch someone or fire a repulsor blast. You've got Captain America, shield at the ready. Hulk, looking like he wants to smash something. Captain Marvel filled with the power Cosmic, Cosmic Cube, or depending on what version of the Marvel Universe you're a fan of. And last but not least, Ant-Man hanging out on a quarter. Now, each hero has their own deck of cards. You notice that they're fairly similar, except their special abilities. So Wasp can shrink, meaning she can't take any damage to the beginning of her next turn. She has her energy projection, where she can move to any location and then gain an extra punch there. And then her wings, you can move yourself and any number of heroes from your location to any other location. So pretty cool stuff. And only you can use your hero special ability. Now, Black Widow, as you can see, similar stuff, except she's got Interrogate. Look at the top card of the Master Plan deck, and you may place it at the bottom. So that's her only special ability. Now, to make the game more harder, to make the game harder, we do have the challenge cards. And to do that, you get rid of those wilds, or a certain number of them, depending on who you're playing. As Wasp has a wild for one of her special ability cards, you get rid of those for the challenge cards. So Iron Man, his special ability lets you give these action tokens, so you can get some punch tokens. You can recharge, drop to 3 cards. And then his other one lets you distribute 2 movement tokens. Captain America, leadership, so you give a wild token to another hero, and that's what his special ability is. He's got 3 of those in his deck. Now, we've been going through this quickly, but you notice you'll get heroic action, punch. Each hero also have things like the double heroic or double punch. So Ant-Man's Quantum Leap, you swap this card with any of your face-up cards in the storyline. Don't worry, we'll explain that. Grow, so this is one of my favorite ones. You move 1, then deal 3 damage to a single target. Great for taking out villains. I mean, 3 damage in a 2-player game. The health for Red Skull and most of the villains is 4. So that just puts how strong that is in perspective. We've got Hulk with lots of punchy punch. Then Hulk Smash, deal 1 damage to everything else in the location. Discard all civilians there. Great way to clear locations if you're fighting against Taskmaster. And he just has 3 Hulk Smash cards. And this ended up getting put a little out of order. It's trying to go in the proper order, but I didn't. Lastly, we got Captain Marvel, whose special ability is Photon Blast. So in one adjacent location, she can use 2 punches. Very cool character. She's strong. And she only has a 3 Photon Blast as her ability. And there you have it. We've taken a look at all of the components for Marvel United. Now keep it right here, as we're going to teach you how to set up the game and then how to play. Now let's take a look at how you set up Marvel United. Unfortunately, with the setup we have here, we're going to have the corner of some of these locations cut off. Now, they are face down because you need to deal out 6 locations from the 8. So the 2 ones that are going back in the box are S.H.I.E.L.D., Headquarters, and Central Park. We will not be using them for this game. You may notice that the action tokens are not out, as well as the invulnerability tokens. Those I've left out because the characters that I'm playing, Captain Marvel and Hulk, will not be using any of those. Now, if you are setting up something on a harder difficulty, if you're doing a moderate challenge, a hard challenge, or a heroic challenge, you follow the instructions on the cards. It's very simple. What you're essentially going to be doing for a moderate challenge, you get rid of the single wild. For harder challenge, get rid of the double. You'll put this one back in. Or for the heroic challenge, you would remove both wild cards from your deck. As we're setting this up on standard difficulty, we're really just going to shuffle our decks, and we will be good to go. So we will reveal the 6 locations. Gonna try to keep everything as tight as I can. I want to keep as much on camera as possible. There may be a little bit of touching and overlapping. So here we have all of our locations. Now we set them up with what they need in them for the start. Now just to reference these these starting information is only important when you set up the game. There is no limit to how many thugs or civilians you may have in a location. It could be all thugs or all civilians once you start playing the game. This really is just how things are going to start out. We've got the health, and we'll need to set up the health for the Red Skull, which is going to be 4 for a 2-player game. This was a 3-player game, it would be 8. And in a 4-player game, it would be for a total of 11 health. Now, in order to be able to defeat Red Skull, what we need to do is complete these missions. You'll notice, I'll just make this a little bit more visible, that once we complete a mission, and it doesn't matter if we defeat this one first, you just slide the mission cards down as such. So once we defeat the first mission, he will start acting after every 2 cards. We can start damaging him after we defeat the second mission. And the third one is really just a bonus. Now we're going to go through Red Skull's deck. We're going to take out his threat cards. We're going to shuffle them up. And I'll apologize if any of them get cut off camera. I'm going to try. I'll probably have them slid over just a little bit to keep them all on camera, depending on where I position them. We'll move his deck further out. So we have all of the cards put out. We now need to place the threat tokens as such. These are only used once you defeat a threat card and I have misplaced one of my threat tokens. It's in the pile over there. I knew I didn't get too far. Now once you defeat one of those threats, place them on the mission, just like we've got a spot for civilians and thugs. Then we get the health out. So Red Skull has 4 health in a 2-player game. Same as Hydra Bob. We have Crossbones, who I think maybe a little cut off there. I think the threat token might actually be cut off. Get him set up with 6. 3, I got 4 there. 5, 6. And then lastly, we've got Madam Hydra I've got 5. And there you have it. We have now set up and we are ready to play Marvel United. Well, just about. One last thing that we need to do is pick a random location for the Red Skull to start. For the sake of just keeping things clear, we'll place him here and our heroes here. Just shuffle up the cards one last time and we're ready to go. All right, we've now set up Marvel United, so keep it right here. I'll be coming back in a flash to teach you how to play. So now I'm going to teach you how to play Marvel United. And I've got my nice handy rule summary here. So the way it works is we start with the villain turn. We add a master plan card to the storyline. We will resolve that card. Then we go to the hero turn, which we will draw a card. Then we play a card to add it to the storyline. Don't worry, we'll explain how the storyline works. Now, we will then resolve all the symbols on the cards in any order. We may resolve also any special effects on our cards and spend any action tokens. Once you end your turn, you can use a location effect if you have defeated the threat card that is there. And then these are the other instructions for hero damage and things like that. So we will start with the Red Skull. But before we do anything else, the one thing I did not do for the setup, we need to draw 3 cards for Captain Marvel and 3 cards for Hulk. As we're start the game with 3 cards in hand. Now this should still be all on camera, just trying to make myself a little bit more room. You know what? I'm actually going to remove the health tokens because we actually don't need them. Once you get all set up, there's a fixed amount of health, which means I can move up my Red Skull cards and use this area here to play the storyline. So Hulk got Hulk Smash, double punch, and a double punch. We then have Captain Marvel with her double punch, 2 heroic actions, and her wild card. Well, we've got some good stuff. Let's see what happens first. So we draw our top card of the Red Skull deck. So we have Hail Hydra. We discard all civilians from a location with heroes and deal 1 damage to each of those heroes. Advance the fear track by the number of civilians discarded this way. So unfortunately, we cannot rescue said civilians. They get discarded. The fear track then goes up by 2 because of his plot. And the heroes will each suffer 1 damage. So we must take a look at our cards. When you suffer damage, it just goes to the bottom of your deck. The wild is good, but I'd rather have some of my doubles. Take a look at what we've got here. Hulk Smash is definitely a good card, especially if we need to beat up quite a few things. I'd like to keep it. I already have a double punch. We'll put this to the bottom of Hulk's deck and save it for later. So now we need to decide who is going to go first. And right now, I don't like what I see. And one thing that's important to note, and I want to reference the rules here because I've seen a few mistakes on this, is that once you decide who goes first, you go in clockwise order. So we'll take a look at just the rulebook, hero turn. See, players collectively choose which hero will start, then they will take turns in clockwise order. Very important, and that will change the strategy of the game. Now I've got both cards here, sorry. So we got an opportunity just to take out Hydra Bob right away and potentially do that. So that's what I'm going to do. So I play the first card, adding it to the storyline. It is, before we do that, first thing I'm going to do is draw a card. Another double punch. So discarding it didn't do too much. So just a reference, we'll review the hero turn again. First thing you do, draw a card from your deck, then you play a card. So drew a card, double punch, play my double punch. I'm going to deal 2 damage to, accidentally move them because they fell in with the other ones, to Hydra Bob. So he actually only has 2 health left. It is now Captain Marvel's turn, who is going to draw a card. Now the interesting thing about Captain Marvel is that she gets to use the last card in the storyline. So this is the disadvantage of going first, as you've got an enemy card, the villain's card, you can't use the next card in the storyline. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to stack them on top of each other just to make sure things stay all on camera. We're going to play Captain Marvel's double punch, and then we defeat Hydra Bob. So we remove him. We gain our first step towards clearing threats. And then we've got an end of turn effect that Captain Marvel can use. You may discard 1 thug from any location. So right now, there's not too many thugs. I mean, the guy here is sort of annoying. We don't necessarily want him there. So we'll just discard him. And it is now once again our turn. Because we've now played 2 cards, in the 2-player game, we now get to decide who is going to go next. Well, we've got a double punch. We need to move. So looking at movement, right now the only person that has any type of movement is Hulk, and he can do Hulk Smash, which seems fairly good. So we'll plan on Hulk starting once again. Draw a card. It's another Hulk Smash. But in any case, we're going to play Hulk Smash. We need to move by 1. So we could go here, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to deal 2 damage to the thugs. Well, not 2 damage to the thugs. We deal 1 damage to everything. We must discard the civilian. Crossbones will take a damage. Then we'll use our double punch to deal 3 damage to Crossbones. Now, it's important to note that we've now played 3 hero cards, meaning it's now the villain's turn to play a card. So we get 0, the BAM effect, Hydra Insurgency. So these are the crisis tokens here. We have yet to draw any. Red Skull, once again, does not move because we do that first. His BAM effect is to deal 1 damage to each hero in his location. The fear track goes up by 2. And for each crisis token we have none, the fear track will advance by 1. Now what's important to note is that we've now played this card, but even though it's now Captain Marvel's turn, so she draws a card, she still has access to the previous card, meaning she can move, she cannot use Hulk's special ability. So just for the sake of keeping things clean and on camera, we're going to play the Photon Blast, which is going to deal 2 damage to an adjacent location. So we want to hit Crossbones. So he takes 2 damage. We then move. We're going to hit him for... you know what? We are actually going to go back slightly before that because we had the BAM effect. So because Hulk is where Crossbones is, we have to deal 2 damage to each hero in this location, and any hero can prevent this by taking 2 crisis tokens. So actually, Hulk's cards, we don't want him to discard his entire hand, so he would have taken 2 crisis tokens that Hulk have, meaning we would increase the fear track again by 2. Don't forget it goes movement, bam, and then the effect. So that was a little annoying. Now where were we? We were continuing on blasting Crossbones. So we move with our last punch. We defeat him. He is now gone. And at the end of the turn, we may swap one card from your hand with one of the cards in the storyline. And I really like this, but this gives us some new abilities. So that's not a bad move. So we're going to continue playing until we get to the next villain turn, or maybe till we complete one of these missions. We've so far resolved quite a few threats. It is now the end of our turn, so we get to decide who is going to go first. And right now, Hulk Smash isn't very good. His double punch isn't very good, but he can move twice because of what we have there. So we could go there, and he can Hulk Smash, which is not bad. Captain Marvel doesn't have any great choices right now, so it'll be Hulk again. So we'll draw a card. We got Hulk's Wild. That's what we want to do. So we're going to play his card. So we're going to move one. We'll move one again. We do Hulk Smash. Unfortunately, we only defeat a thug. We discard all the civilians. We deal 8 damage to Madam Hydra. So it is now Captain Marvel's turn. So we'll draw another card. She's got a double movement, but we're in a good place because we still have our Photon Blast. So we can move. Well, unfortunately, we're going to lose a punch, but that's okay. Move one over here, and we're going to blast Madam Hydra for another 2. And yeah, that's, you know what? That's not necessarily the best move that we can do. Take that back. Put those 2 back. Let's save this for a little later. That was a perfect time to play a double heroic. And we will actually need some of the action tokens. I did neglect that. So the only ones that we actually need with these heroes, and I will make sure to correct that on our setup, is the heroic ones, because they need to be added to threats when we play them. So I'll just keep this one here for reference. And that is how you will resolve these, or we could have used the heroic action to rescue a civilian instead. Once again, come around to the Red Skull's turn. So we will move 4 and then bam. 1, 2, 3, 4. He does bam. Fear track goes up by 1, 2. Doesn't damage us. So we can deal 1 damage. She deals 1 damage. We can take a crisis token. At this point, I don't really think I need the wild. I'm just going to punch her. I will take the damage. Now, getting to a place like Avengers Mansion will let me potentially redraw some of my cards. We now need to deploy to the locations. So we will follow the clockwise order of the cards. So orient it like it was the Red Skull's position. So we had 1 thug, 2 thugs, and then a 3rd thug in this location. Now, we played his turn, so once again, it is our hero's turn. So we've got a few different things that we can do. And the first person to play is going to get access to Captain Marvel's double heroic. So this makes more sense for anything else for Captain Marvel to go first and to play her Photon Blast using the double heroic. Just move this. Do what I did last time like this. Meaning rescue civilian, complete this threat. So we've cleared another threat. We then have our punch to punch a thug, and we can Photon Blast an adjacent location, dealing 2 damage to, let's move that over, Madam Hydra. So that's the first card in our set. So now it is Hulk's turn, and I neglected to draw a card. Double punch, doesn't matter. I'd already figured out what I wanted to do. So Hulk only has a double punch. We still get to draw a card for him. He can take a heroic action. It's fairly pointless for him. We're going to play the double punch. Fortunately, we lose a punching action, but getting ahead of myself. You may search your deck for one card and set aside and shuffle your deck and place that card on top of your hand. Well, might as well. It's already there. Oh, yeah, it's already there. I was going to look for the double wild. So sorry I forgot to resolve the end of turn effect. Madam Hydra is defeated. Move this here. So we've now cleared our first mission. Slide the mission tracks down. At the end of a turn, I may now rescue one civilian from this location. There are none, which is unfortunate. We have played 2 hero cards. We've unlocked his new ability. So Red Skull is now going to act after a second hero card. So he does not move, does bam. All that happens is the fear track goes up by 2. And now gameplay is going to continue until we complete this mission and then finally defeat the Red Skull. So there you have it. You've gotten a taste for how you play Marvel United. We did not cover the overflow effect. I'll just want to cover that before we end this. So for example, let's say the shield helicarrier was full. You had to add another thug or civilian to it. You would then follow this effect here on the villain card. So keep it right here. We've covered everything for the game, all the rules. Now Julie and I are going to be coming back at you. Well, coming back at you with our review. Just remember, to win the game, you must defeat the Red Skull or lose to any of the losing conditions that are present or emptying out your deck. Hope you enjoyed this. Let's talk about it. So Marvel United, our second Marvel Miniatures game. We never played the other one. The co-op rules never showed up. That was Marvel Strike Teams. It came in and it went out without ever hitting the table, unfortunately. So needless to say, we've both been looking forward to getting a Marvel Miniatures game to the table. What did you think of it?
It's funny because when this came on Kickstarter, you said a couple magic words and my eyes lit up and I was like, you're backing this, right? You said Marvel, you said cooperative, and you said minis.
Yes, and then you said the important word that I always love to hear, all in, question mark? Is it implying it better be? I want all my characters.
So if you watch a channel, I'm pretty consistent in what I like. I like cooperative games. I like minis. And I tend to like things like Marvel and things like that. So I was really looking forward to this game. It is definitely a fun game. I thought the minis were cute. It's much more cartoony than, you had shown me, it's much more cartoony than I think I expected.
Well, one of the reasons for that is the Marvel license is chopped up all over the place. The miniatures, I would say, in terms of like the miniatures grade license, is with Marvel Crisis Protocol, which is a competitive heroes versus villain minis game. Not the kind of thing that we would actually play with each other, against each other. So this is done by Spinmasters, which has another version of the Marvel license. They put out 5 Minute Marvel, and the art is clearly inspired by that game.
That being said, it is colorful. It is, there are nice minis. I do enjoy the production value of this game. I think it's nice, colorful game cards and a nice colorful game. I think we discussed that you like to sleeve things. You suggested maybe we sleeve this game. I don't know that it needs it. I think if it stays around long enough for little man to play it, then yeah, maybe.
So there's not a critique on the components. It's the fact that your kids are going to want to play the game. It's designed, as Julie said, with the colors, things like that, to attract them. I will probably, once the whole game arrives, not right now, I will be sleeving the game. I'll probably laminate all of the locations just to make it a little bit more rugged so that he can, play it at a younger age and I don't have to worry about him potentially destroying it by mistake. I want him to have it for a long time.
So that being said, this is definitely a family-friendly or a novice-friendly cooperative game. I think if you're new to cooperative games, or if you're new to gaming, or you're not much of a you're not a big gamer, this is definitely accessible. That being said, will more experienced gamers like us enjoy it? Yes. If you're new to cooperative games, I think that might be easier for you to catch it. If for us, I would say being cooperative, I think we're ready to call ourselves. Okay, I'm putting me. I think we're cooperative pros now. I think we've played enough.
We've beaten CO2, so I mean that game alone, if you can handle that, you should almost call yourself a cooperative pro.
Yeah, so I mean, when we first started doing these videos, I called myself a gamer light. I still think I'm not a gamer to Jason's level, in the sense that I'm not really somebody to create my own Dungeons and Dragons character, and
hey, you made a Legacy of Dragonhold character.
I did.
You had a lot of fun with that.
Yes, but that's not that's not something, that's not my strength. That's not where I enjoy the most. I enjoy myself the most. That being said, this game was definitely very easy to learn, very easy to pick up. From an iconography perspective, you can't, it's almost like playing Uno. I felt like exactly what your cards are doing, right?
Yeah. No. There's no mistaking what the cards will do. You need to maybe double check with a special ability once or twice just to make sure you're clear how it works. But even then, it's very easy to grasp. Everything is clear, concise, and presented in such a way that you'll have a hard time making mistakes.
So that being said, for us, I think it was on the easy side. We gave the villains extra health accidentally and still beat them.
Yeah, I do think we made a mistake. Sorry to jump in there. Once or twice with how we activated Red Skull and his BAM effect, which could have made it that we actually lost one game. But thinking back to some of those games, it still would have been very much at the wire. And if we thought things out a little bit in more detail, I doubt we would have gone into any trouble with him.
So that, yeah, I mean, it could be a negative for some people that it is this easy, and it could be really a positive for those who find some games a little bit daunting. This definitely shouldn't scare anybody. It's an accessible game. As Jason said, 5. I'd say 7, 8-year-old could play this. I'm not sure about 5. You're always overestimating. You're always a little bit optimistic, I think, when it comes to the age of kids, but yeah.
Hey, it depends on if you start them gaming early. And just to clarify, we have played this a lot. We have both played all characters. We played all villains multiple times, and we've played it across all difficulty levels. Now, thinking back to our last play with 4 players on the hardest difficulty with the Red Skull, I do think we did not activate his BAM effect properly once, or probably 2 times. So we were at, I believe, 11 or 12 on his fear track. We should have probably boosted that up. We still beat him without that much difficulty with 11 health, considering we were playing on 2 players where the villains had 8 health. So used to seeing CMON Games or other games doing, this is the amount of health per player. So I was like, oh, well, it's 8 health. And we were just walking around kicking butt. We played Ultron as well on the hardest difficulty, where you remove all the wilds, and that really was not all that challenging as well. Now, I do think there's a little bit more luck of the draw as well. If you do happen to if you've watched the full How to Play, you notice that even on easy, I'm not in any trouble where I end the video, but I'm not quite getting the flow of cards that I want to necessarily clean up the board. So there are some scenarios that can be more challenging, but depending on who you're playing as and the amount of characters, I don't think someone that's played a lot of cooperative games, and I'm not talking about just like specializing in a game like Spirit Island or CO2 or any really difficult one. Once you've played, especially with the same partner, so you think alike, you know how it's going to work. if you played a lot of games together, this one is going to fall definitely on the easy side. We haven't lost a game. Thinking back about our first game, we probably should have lost our first game. But, I mean, we're at about 10 plays, so that would be 9 wins.
And some of them handily, even on hard
Yes.
mode. I mean, once we got...
Well, the Ultron win was... When we first put it to hard and we played Ultron, I was very disappointed by how easily we won the game.
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about the characters? Anything about their individual characteristics, the different villains?
Well, and I think like many games, you have to think about what the different character special powers are. I mean, they're not that they don't really have a lot of superpowers. They have a couple cards to give them something, but you may not want to play certain characters together. I mean, we played
Black Widow and Cap.
Black Widow and Cap together, and that was okay. Which one was it? I think it was Iron Man and Cap that didn't go well together.
No, it was Black Widow and Cap. That was because of her special ability was Interrogate, and he was just giving the wild token. So we didn't have any strong assault on the board.
We have Ant-Man and the Wasp in our version, and
yes,
I thought they went well together as they should.
Yeah, so the Wasp is so this is the Kickstarter copy of the game. If you do have the game from Walmart, you will not have the Wasp. I do believe that she is also in the version that is currently on Amazon. Have to see if they do release any other versions of the game. And just to talk a little bit about the heroes myself, it's accessible because they're all very similar. There are some minor differences in terms of the cards that are in the deck, just add a little bit of flavor. They're their special abilities, but everyone plays essentially the same way. So that's a little bit of a downside for me coming from Marvel Champions. I think I'm a little bit spoiled where every hero is so incredibly different that I absolutely love getting a new hero, opening it up, and getting it to the table. Now, the villains, that's one thing that I definitely have to commend the game for. None of them feel alike at all. Taskmaster's way of beating you is literally through exhaustion. He doesn't actually have a win condition. You're either going to overload all the locations, so that will cause you to lose. You're going to run out of the plan deck, or you're going to run out of your own deck. Ultron is a little bit similar in terms of trying to overwhelm you, but he also has his win conditions as well. Sorry, I was getting them confused. Ultron is the one where he needs to win by filling up all the locations. Taskmaster is really just wear you down, whereas Red Skull's got that constant track pushing towards his victory. The interesting thing, though, is talking about the game being easy. There's a lot that can be done with the villains and the locations to make the game much more difficult. And as we have the Kickstarter, the all-in Kickstarter of the game, we're going to be getting a ton more content. So I'm hoping that we're going to see some stuff that's going to be more challenging and get this game to the table more often because it's fast to set up, fast to tear down, and it is great to play during the evenings. I just wish there was a little bit more to bite on.
So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you what
on.
yours are, but I'm going to answer so I give you time to think about who are your two favorite characters to play with. In my case, in this case, I think Captain Marvel and Iron Man were my favorite.
I like Captain Marvel a lot. I have to say I really enjoyed Ant-Man. His quantum leap ability and grow. To be honest, in a two-player game, Ant-Man might actually be the strongest character you can have. Only because you set it up right, you have a one-shot kill on the boss. With his grow, 3 damage. If you have a punch before that, you get to the boss. Too. So really liked Ant-Man a lot more than I would have expected. And then I have to say I liked Hulk a lot, but I don't know.
I didn't like Hulk as much as I normally do. He's less. So
I'm just looking at the characters on the back just to see if there's one that pops. No, probably Ant-Man and Iron Man. Wasp was fun too. Wasp and Iron Man almost interchangeable.
Captain Marvel was fun because she has a lot of wilds. So when we remove
they all have the wilds.
Yeah, but she has one more, I believe.
No, that's Wasp that has the actual wild. Okay. Wasp and Ant-Man have the 2 actual wilds.
Okay. So, are you ready to give it your rating?
Well, I thought we should just talk a little bit about the locations. How did you feel about having those special abilities at the end of the turn?
I think that was fun. So each of the locations has its own and basically success, I guess.
Yeah, once you've defeated the threat, you've got a special ability you can now use.
Some of them were fun. Like once you take damage and you have less cards in your hand. I can't remember which one it is. But
Avengers Mansion.
One of them, yes, makes sense. Allows you to draw back up to your 3 cards. I mean, some of them were less interesting.
No, I have to agree with you. The Stark Lab ones was really powerful. I used that one to get Ant-Man to grow into my hand quite a few times, and Julie's like, really? Again? I'm like, this is just a lot of fun.
There was one of them that allowed you to move to anywhere on the board, I believe, as well.
Yeah, the Shield Helicarrier.
So, I mean, that's interesting, and that adds a little dynamic. I'm glad to see that you don't always have the same locations. There's an extra 2 that you can bring in, right, and sub out. So that I thought that was fun.
It's going to change a lot once we get all the expansions. There are a lot of expansions for the game. Unfortunately, they're not all available in retail. As far as I know, they're all Kickstarter exclusives. There's a lot of future-proofing in this game. There are way more tokens than you actually need. In most scenarios, the only tokens you're going to need are the heroic ability ones, and you might need 6 of them. There's probably like 10 or 15 of them in here, so it's a little crazy, but glad to see that the game is built to last. So, what is your rating of Marvel United?
So, I wrestled with this one. We don't normally talk in advance. We talked a little bit about it. I think we both were looking forward to this so much, and I think it's not, well, at least for me, it's not quite what I was expecting. And I think maybe that's affecting my score a little bit. But for me, and if you're wanting to hear my rating as if you're the type of player that you're like me, for me, this is a 6.5 because it's too easy. As I said, for families, for people that don't game quite as often, or people that are looking for more accessible games.
I love Marvel.
And I was going to get to that. I think this is great. If you love Marvel like we do, we still had fun playing this. Just take it for what it is. It is an easy game. This is not it's not a brain buster. It's not really much of a challenge. It's a fun game to play if you're looking to play something quick and easy on a weeknight or whatever, or on a weekend, whenever if you're looking to play something quick and easy, or if you're looking for something to play with less experienced gamers. This is definitely something that you can pull out that won't scare anybody away. But for me, for what I like, for my preferences, it's a 6.5, mostly because of the fact that of the lack of complexity for it. If it was a little bit more challenging, it probably would have stayed a 7.
And I'm going to agree with you. This game is a 6.5. It's a solid game. I'm not disappointed to have it in the collection because we definitely will be playing it with our little guy in the future. Now, I talked about the setup time, how quick and easy it is to get to the table, and it's accessible. The thing is, we've got Marvel Champions. We have all the content from Marvel Champions. If I pull out a preset deck, besides building the villain deck, it's probably close to the same amount of time to get the game to the table, and I'm going to enjoy that more. So that's the reason why I'm giving it a 6.5. I have a Marvel game in our collection that I would rather play than play Marvel United right now. And the setup and length of play are just too similar for me. Now, that doesn't mean this is not going to get played. Christmas, hopefully we're allowed to see some people. I can definitely see this coming out. This is also the quintessential opening game for game night. Now, once we can start having a game night again here, I could see Marvel United often being set up on the table, ready to go, just because people show up. Oh, we're waiting for someone. Let's knock out a quick game of this. People will show up. We'll be ready to do something else because the game's going to take us between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many players. And as anyone that's hosted a game night knows, no one ever shows up on time. There's always someone that's early and someone that's late. So we agree exactly for a change. Well, it happens fairly often, but not.
It's been happening more frequently.
Yeah, well, getting some of the games we really like to the table. Well, or we're interested in to the table.
So I think on that note, it's time to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you.
Feel free to take a look down below in the video description, and well, as you're going through the video description, you will see links to all the social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you want to see pictures of us playing Marvel United, that's right there. Keep going down there and you will see the comment section, as Julie mentioned. So feel free to comment. We love hearing that. Well, love hearing your thoughts, not that. I should say your thoughts about what you think about the video, Marvel United. Definitely think that this game is going to be an interesting one that sits between that 6.5 and 7 mark. And looking forward to seeing more people getting this and hearing their thoughts. And popping up in front of me, you're going to see links to some of our previously released content. The one in front of me is going to be to our most recently released video. The one in front of Julie is going to take you to our review and how to play of, what do you think, Thanos Rising or Marvel Champions?
I was going to say it's probably should be Marvel Champions.
Okay, so it'll take you back to a review and how to play of Marvel Champions. So, what do we need to do now?
Now it's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
We're going to keep playing games.
And keep playing games. This will definitely be coming back out at some point. Looking forward to
shouldn't we be getting Guardians at some point?
Guardians, Thor, Into the Spider-Verse, and...
Well, I wore my Groot shirt, but then I realized there is no Groot in this box.
He's coming. He's coming. 2021, March.
Okay.